What's up, what's going on, Legends? Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're diving into Modern Warfare Zombies, and we're going to be showcasing the new schematics you can get from completing the Season 3.5 or Season 3 Reloaded Rift for Modern Warfare Zombies. This includes the Golden Gas Mask Filter, the Deadwire Detonators, and the Sergeant's Beret. Now, I have unlocked all three of these. It did take me quite a few runs. I think it was like 3 or 4 of them. There is a lot of crashing going on, which can throw you back a little bit. But regardless, these are a lot better than I think people give them credit for. I will say the Golden Gas Mask for me is probably the least usable, as you can basically just run a durable, and I think in most cases you would be just fine. Whereas I did find a little bit better use case for the Deadwire Detonators and the Sergeant's Beret. So first up, let's go ahead and talk about the Golden Gas Mask Filter. Now what this does is gives you a regenerative gas mask. Now the other thing I think it does too is allows you to have a lot more time in the storm, as the tick rate doesn't happen quite as fast as maybe even a durable gas mask. As I was able to go into the Stormcaller storm, hang out inside of it, eliminating zombies, even taking on the Stormcaller. I don't know exactly how long I managed to stay in the storm, but it was quite some time. I made sure to stay in until the very last tick. That way I could head out of the storm, see how fast it would regenerate, and to my surprise, it was actually really quick. So one of the best use cases, I think, for the Golden Gas Mask Filter is going to be to take on the Stormcaller, as at that point you are going to spend a lot of time within the storm trying to take it on. It'll just make things quite a bit easier. Then if you get into a position where you need to recharge your gas mask, you just step outside of the storm for a few seconds and it'll go all the way back up to full. Then you can just go right back in, continuing to fight the Stormcaller. Another really good use case for this would be going and taking on infested strongholds or even the Aether Nest, as you guys will be able to do this significantly easier. Unless you get overwhelmed by zombies, you shouldn't even have to go outside of the infested or even the Aether Nest, even in tier 3, because you have so much time to actually take out the spores. Outside of that, it is worth noting that you can take this over to the Red Worm. However, the only real benefit here is the fact that it is going to last significantly longer, as you won't be able to get outside the storm to regenerate it. So it really won't be much different than using a durable, because you will be hitting those ammo caches pretty often, refilling your gas mask anyways. Next, we have the Deadwire Detonators. Now, currently, my biggest issue for these was that I wasn't able to actually determine whether or not they were activated once I activated it. So I didn't see anywhere on my screen where I could tell that I had Deadwire Detonators on. Now, if anybody in the comment section knows where I can actually see this, or maybe it's something they're going to implement later, please let me know. But I wasn't able to actually tell that I had them on, besides just knowing for a fact that I activated them. So that's my biggest gripe with the Deadwire Detonators, but it should work for any of your explosive equipment. I think it also does work for the RGL, however, I didn't use that. I don't know how much use case that would actually benefit, because most cases I think that this would be the best use would be towards bosses and maybe elites, just depending on your scenario. Now, it actually took me a couple runs in the Elder to figure out just how useful the Deadwire Detonators were, but when we got to the boss at the end, I managed to stick both the thermites to that Disciple boss. It actually stun locked it for the entirety of its health bar, so we were able to burn through all of its health. I did this multiple times just to make sure it would work, and we also tested it without having the Deadwire Detonators equipped, and it was not quite as effective, so we know for sure the thermites with the Deadwire Detonators were extremely impactful. So if you are looking to make that last boss in the Elder or just in the regular Sigil in general a lot easier, I definitely recommend, if you guys get a hold of Deadwire Detonators along your journey, just go ahead and activate them. Unless this is something you want to store in your stash, I'm pretty sure you guys will have pretty good use by using them against the boss. Realistically, you could pop them in any regular run the thermites and just use them against any Disciple that you come across, but I do think the best use case for these would be just taking on the boss in the Elder. Now, the last schematic we have is the Sergeant's Beret. Personally, this is my favorite. Originally, I was a little bit skeptical about how this was actually going to play out, but it does have a couple of cool features. First things first, it is not tiered out at all, so that's a good thing to note. If you call in the Sergeant's Beret, it is just a whatever version of it. There isn't a tier 3 or anything like that, at least not to my knowledge. And this thing was actually pretty good, because it does have significantly longer range than the dog, although it does kind of perform in the exact same way. When you call in the Sergeant's Beret, you do put on a mercenary disguise, and this does work until you shoot at any mercenary, and your friendly merc will also fly in from the sky to help support you. Now again, he does have a much better range than the dog. Now, in order to have a little bit of fun with this, I went in as a 3-man. We all popped the Sergeant's Beret, so that way we would have 3 mercs with us. We decided to go over to the new Rainmaker Warlord just to see how things would play out. Now, the good news is the mercenaries didn't start shooting at us right away. However, the artillery still did go off once we started getting within the area, so we did have to be kind of cautious to that. But again, we were able to stay disguised until we fired our first bullet. Once we did so, they obviously knew that we weren't really the people we were saying we were, and they decided to shoot back. But it did make it significantly easier to have those friendly mercenaries with us when we went to take on the Warlord, because they pretty much helped us clear house, and it wasn't really all that challenging to take on the new Warlord in general. You just kind of had to be careful of a few traps. Now, I also did take this into the new Elder, and it did perform very similar to how a dog would, but again, I really do think the range on these guys is significantly better than the dogs, and they will stick with you a little bit better. You can also heal them with your healing aura in case you are curious. And another good benefit to these guys, which I think a lot of people would overlook, is if you manage to go down, they will come over and revive you, very similar to the dog. So in my opinion, they have actually more purpose than the original Dogbone does, and they are a little bit cooler. And in my opinion, finally, we got something mercenary related for the mode that not everybody's gonna hate. Now, that's all 3 of the new schematics. Again, I think they're a little bit better than people have painted them out to be, but that's gonna wrap things up for us here. Thank you guys for all the support in today's video, all the support in the channel, and I look forward to seeing y'all in the next one. Peace.